Let's grow together. And now, really, let's welcome Reverend Martin back for the lesson of the day.
We spend a fair amount of time in this center focusing on the truth with a capital T. And the truth is that we are expressions of the infinite. And therefore, our potential and possibilities are limitless. We acknowledge a few, very few, exceptions to this rule. There are some. For example, I cannot be the first person to walk on the moon. That's already been done. I could be the 13th person to walk on the moon. I could also be the first person to present a science of mind lesson on the moon. Maybe we could start a GoFundMe to finance that trip. And I cannot violate a natural or spiritual law and get away with it. I may be able to violate a man-made law, run a stoplight or whatever, and not suffer legal consequences, but not so with a natural or spiritual law. So if I stand barefoot in a pan of warm salt water and stick paper clips into a live electrical socket, regardless of what I believe, I'm going to fry. But a few exceptions aside, there are no limits imposed upon us. Whatever we can imagine and believe, we can do. The reason we spend so much time hammering this home is that most of us were raised with all kinds of objections to that truth. And as a result of negative upbringings, the maximum amount of optimism that most people can muster is expect the best, but plan for the worst. Well, if you plan for the worst, you're liable to get it. And that's a remarkably foolproof way to live. Expect neighbors to be unfriendly, and they will be, even if you move. Expect your kids to misbehave, and they will. Expect your job to be miserable, and it will be. Expect your finances to be tight, and they will be. I have people come to me and say things like, "Oh, please pray for me. This is going to be a tough, tough year." Or something bad happens in their lives and they say something along the lines of, "Oh, I just knew this was going to happen." Or you'll hear things like, "Things are going pretty well, knock wood." Or things are going pretty well and someone else says, "Don't say that, you'll jinx it." Or we say, "Oh, that would be nice, but it's too good to be true." Now, of course, your life can never be too good, nor does your happiness rob anyone else of theirs. But many people feel like that they're going to be punished, or perhaps sort of pay a tax for living the good life. The tax is thought to be paid by worry, waiting for the other shoe to drop, or whatever. But the gifts of God are offered freely, and they're meant to be accepted and enjoyed freely. Bottom line, our expectations set the limits of our lives. I've heard people say things like, "I don't like to expect good things. That way, I won't be upset when I don't get them." Or as my father was fond of saying, "Blessed is he who expects the worst, for he shall not be disappointed." Now, of course, those of us who follow this philosophy know that we can't afford the luxury of a negative thought, feeling, or belief. Avoiding negative thinking, feeling, and believing is a must for a truly happy, fulfilled, productive life. But it is not enough to simply stop expecting bad things. We must actively expect our good. Now, having great positive expectations is vital because our every thought is a prayer. God, life, the universe, meets us at our level of expectation. The Earl Roberts TV show used to open with a song called "Something Good is Going to Happen to You." And always in my mind, I think, something good is going to happen to you if you expect something good to happen. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus is quoted as saying, "According to your faith, be it done unto you." And that's a very simple statement of the way life works. And there are many ways we could say it. Whatever you believe, you receive. Whatever you expect is what shows up. The law takes our belief and turns it into our reality. And the law works whether we believe in it or not. Another way of saying that is that although the law of mind works with our belief, it does not require our belief in it in order for it to do its work. So you can say, I don't believe there's any such law, but there is, and the law is automatic, and it works every time. And therefore, you must, by law, be successful. There are no failures in the sense that we all manifest our true beliefs 100% successfully. Now, this is not just a principle that works in the so-called spiritual world. In recent decades, there have been countless scientific studies which prove, beyond a doubt, that our expectations shape our experience of life. So, for example, medical science has shown that poor expectations can cancel the effect of a pain-relieving drug. In one remarkable experiment, people were placed in an MRI scanner, hooked up to an IV, and heat was applied to the leg until it became painful. Their pain on a scale of 1 to 100 reached a level of 66 on average. And then an opiate painkiller was administered through the IV without the patient's knowledge, and the pain went from 66 down to 55. Then the patients were told that a drug was being given. Now, it had already been given for quite a few minutes. And when they were told this, their pain level quickly dropped to 39. And then they were told that the opiate was being taken away from them, except it wasn't. And their pain shot up to 64, almost to where they began at 66. So this was not just a subjective thing, it was measured scientifically. So summing this idea up, Dr. Irene Tracy from Oxford University said, people with chronic pain will often have seen many doctors and tried many drugs that haven't worked for them. They come with all this negative experience, not expecting to receive anything that will work for them. Doctors have almost got to work on that, those expectations, first, before any drug will have an effect on their pain. Another study, a long-term study of 3,000 patients with chronic heart disease, asked them to rate their expectations, ranging from, I doubt that I'll ever fully recover from my heart problems, to, my heart condition will have little or no effect on my ability to work. And those with positive expectations had a 50% lower death rate over time. And the study concluded that optimism is a powerful drug that compares favorably with highly effective medical therapies. As you know, for a drug to be considered effective, it must prove itself to be better than a placebo or a fake drug, sometimes referred to as a sugar pill. And this is because of what's known as the placebo effect, in which patients improve simply because they think they're being treated with something. And if we can't compare a new drug favorably with the placebo, it's said that we can't be sure that the benefit is anything more than wishful thinking. I'm going to talk more about wishful thinking in just a moment. But when it comes to surgery, traditionally placebos have not been required. And that's probably a mistake, one that's now being rectified by medical science. Now, at the turn of this century, arthroscopic knee surgery for osteoarthritis of the knee was common. And several studies had shown that people who had these procedures improved more than people who did not. However, there arose a growing suspicion in the medical community that this procedure mostly worked because of the placebo effect. And in 2002, they proved that suspicion to be true. A total of 180 patients who had osteoarthritis of the knee were randomly assigned, with their consent, to one of two groups. The first had standard arthroscopic surgery, and the second group had fake surgery. They made an incision, the doctors pretended to operate, and then the incision was closed. And the results of this experiment were stunning. Those who had the actual procedures did no better than those who had the fake surgery. They all improved the same amount. The results were in people's minds. Another study published in 2003 showed that vertebroplasty, which is treating back pain by injecting a bone cement into fractured vertebra, this was effective at treating back pain. And from 2001 through 2005, the number of patients who underwent this procedure doubled every single year. Some of them had the procedure done more than once because they failed to achieve relief. But in 2009, 2 placebo-controlled studies were published proving that vertebroplasty worked no better than the fake procedure. Now, in researching this topic, I was fascinated that scientists referred to the benefits of placebos as being the result of wishful thinking. I would call it faith. Wishful thinking suggests something along the lines of, I don't know where I'll come up with the money for these car repairs. Maybe if I buy a lotto ticket, I'll win the jackpot. Whereas faith would be the exercise of a belief in abundance within a law that honors that belief by going to work to resolve the temporary experience of lack. Your expectations are created in your mind, and they have a definite impact on your brain, which is the tool of the mind. That is, throughout your life, you've had a variety of expectations and experiences, some of them what we call good, some of them what we call bad, and some of them burrow deeper into the brain than others. They create something called neural pathways, and not all these neural pathways, as I mentioned, are equal. So much of your success and satisfaction in life will be determined by whether your most prominent neural pathways are positive or negative. And as you go through life, every new experience is compared to the brain's stored expectations. It's like a river. The water always follows the path of least resistance. So when you encounter a life situation, it will tend to follow the easiest path in your brain. And if the easiest path is a positive one, you're well on your way to a good outcome. But if the easiest path is a negative one, you've got a problem to deal with. It is said that we can go to the river of life with a thimble, a bucket, or a barrel, but that we can take from the river only what that container will hold. And our container, of course, is our expectations. But beyond the size of our container, we also need to consider which river we're going to. If our positive neural pathway is short and shallow, we'll not get much out of it, no matter what we take to its banks. God meets us at the level of our expectations. So if you're not living your best, you're not just letting yourself down, you're letting your whole world down. Your small thinking does not serve anyone. Expecting the best may involve letting go of situations, possessions, and even relationships. Hanging on to what is not always the best. In fact, it's almost never the best, since the best is yet to come. So how do we go about expecting the best? Well, first, be aware of what you're thinking. This is part of living in the now, because negative expectations may be lurking unaware in your subconscious mind. So if you're feeling edgy or stressed or irritable for no apparent reason, chances are you have some negative expectations swirling around within you. These can be altered over time through prayer and meditation. Secondly, challenge the negatives. It's not really that hard to do. It does take practice and persistence. Develop an I can do this attitude, and you'll find that your subsequent successes will strengthen your future confidence. And third, work daily on developing a positive expectation. This is where affirmations come in handy. You can have affirmations like, today is going to be a great day because, fill in the blank. Or, I feel great today because, whatever it is. And try to think of 3 reasons, 3 statements that support your affirmation. And that should be easy, really, because within infinite good are an infinite number of reasons that that good is ours to have. And 4 simple tips for expecting the best and getting it. Number 1, choose. Choose to expect the best in every situation. Train your mind to focus only on the good. Keep your attention away from anything unwanted. And even in the face of adversity, know that you will turn this situation to your advantage. You're never too old to deepen and lengthen your positive neural pathways. Secondly, avoid negative talk like the plague. Stay away from complaining, arguing, being miserable, feeling fearful, or feeling powerless. These things sap your energy and cancel your positive expectations. And for heaven's sakes, limit your time spent with negative people, because they can drag you down. And it's so easy to complain to and with negative people, because they'll support you in your complaints. Third, speak to yourself and others in positive terms. Instead of, this is going to be difficult, try, I can handle this. Instead of, I don't want any more of these financial difficulties, try, God is my source of unlimited good, and that good is available to me now and always. It is always more powerful to be for the good than to be against the bad. Don't forget to ring up the sales tax. Fourth, know that your expectation is coming true. How can you know when you don't know yet? Well, you must choose to know. And this also takes practice, because faith is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it grows. So when doubts pop up, don't get distressed. Brush them off and get back to knowing your expectation will happen. Ernest Holmes tells us we should work not with anxiety, but with expectancy. We should leave everything to law, expecting a full and complete proof of our faith. We shall not be disappointed nor chagrined, for the law is our faithful servant. In the Hebrew Scriptures, there's a very interesting book, the book of Job. The whole book is a story about one man. It's an allegory, really, not meant to be taken literally. It's a work of fiction, but it is designed to teach spiritual truths. And in the story, we find that Job was a man who was very righteous, loved God, was very prosperous, had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And one day, God and Satan decide to have a conversation about Job. And God asks Satan his opinion of Job. And Satan answers that Job is pious and righteous and God-loving only because God has blessed him with prosperity. But if Job were to lose his possessions, he would curse God. Because the Satan character in this allegory realized that it's easy to practice spiritual principles when times are good. It's when we encounter difficulties that our true spiritual maturity is revealed. So God accepts Satan's challenge, and he gives Satan the power to test Job's righteousness. And in quick succession, Job's possessions are destroyed. 500 pair of oxen, 500 donkeys, and 3,000 camels are killed or stolen. 7,000 sheep are burned up by fire which fell from the sky, a lightning strike which caused a massive wildfire. And Job's house collapsed in a mighty wind, killing all of Job's children. And you thought you had a bad week. Job endures all these calamities without blaming God. So Satan asked permission to afflict Job's body as well. And God says, "Behold, he is in your hand, but don't take his life." Satan smites Job with dreadful boils, and Job, seated in the ashes all around him, scrapes his skin with shards of broken pottery. And his wife urges him to curse God and die. Broken in mind, spirit, and body, Job stumbles across the reason for his suffering when he exclaims, "The thing which I have greatly feared has come upon me." The thing which I have greatly feared has come upon me. In other words, he received what he expected to receive, just as you and I receive what we expect to receive. Well, Job has a conversation with God in which God says that there are many things that Job does not know about how the world works. But Job should remember that God is far greater than anything in the world. Well, the story ends happily with Job transforming his view of life. He's restored to health. He gains a new family and twice as much wealth, which means that out of misery, a light dawned within him, and he saw the truth, and the truth set him free. He realized that he had been expecting the worst, and he got it, but that he could expect something better and get that instead. And the book of Job ends there. We don't know what happened to Job afterward. Did he stick to his new way of thinking, or did circumstances once again pull him back to the dark side of negative expectations? Did he still fear things greatly and thus invite them into his life? We don't know. All we know is that despite Job being a good man and a man who loved God, his negative expectations turned into his reality because the law is automatic and works in the same predictable way for saints and for sinners. And it's that way with you and me. No matter how deeply we immerse ourselves in this teaching, we're still surrounded by people and conditions which can trigger negative expectations. We never, ever, at least not in this incarnation, we never reach such an enlightened state that we're above the experience of entertaining a negative belief and suffering the consequences. So, we must be the gatekeepers of our minds and work constantly at keeping the negative influences out, because those negative influences are still around. As George Carlin said, just because you got the monkey off your back doesn't mean the circus has left town. We become spiritual masters when we arrive at a working understanding of the law. And understanding the law means knowing that the law is supporting us and manifesting for us at all times. And so, we're back to where this talk began. We live in a field of infinite potential, and therefore our possibilities are limitless. No matter how far up we rise, there is always more up waiting for us. As someone said, don't tell me the sky is the limit when there are footprints on the moon. So if there's negativity in your subconscious, learn to detect it. Sooner or later, you're likely to run into a negative idea. Reject it. All kinds of negativity may bombard your mind. Protect it. Your faith is looking for a new goal. Direct it. Somewhere deep inside is a better idea. Select it. The divine within you is perfect. Reflect it. Your greater good is available. Expect it. And unlimited good is yours now. Collect it. And so it is.